Welcome back to XRP Insider, the channel where we break down the biggest crypto stories, market trends, and hidden opportunities shaping the future of digital finance. Today's headline is absolutely massive because investors everywhere are asking one question right now. Could buying XRP today actually set you up for life? XRP has been through one of the wildest rides in crypto history, and right now the token is sitting at a level that has people both terrified and excited at the same time. After once climbing to an all-time high of $3.84, XRP is now trading around $1.40, which means the asset is down roughly 64% from its peak. For some investors, that looks like weakness, but for long-term believers, this could be one of the biggest opportunities in the crypto market today. The debate is becoming more intense every single day because while critics believe XRP has already seen its best days, supporters are convinced that this is only the beginning of a much larger move that could completely shock the market over the next few years. And honestly, the numbers being thrown around right now are turning heads across the entire crypto industry. What makes this conversation so interesting is that XRP supporters are not just talking about small gains anymore. Some analysts and influencers online are predicting extremely aggressive price targets that range from $100 all the way to $10,000 per coin. Now, obviously, those predictions sound exciting, but many investors believe those estimates are completely unrealistic and based more on emotion than actual financial logic. Still, even if we ignore the most extreme forecasts, there are still serious financial institutions that believe XRP could rise dramatically over the next several years. One of the biggest examples comes from Standard Chartered, which previously projected XRP reaching around $8 by the end of 2026, over $10 by 2027, and potentially $12.50 by 2028. Even after scaling back some expectations, the bank still suggested XRP could possibly reach as high as $28 before the end of the decade. And when you compare those projections to today's price, near $1.40, you start to understand why so many investors are suddenly paying attention again. Because even without the crazy predictions, the upside potential still looks enormous from current levels. Think about what a move from $1.40 to $28 would actually mean in terms of returns. That would represent roughly a 20 times increase from today's price. In traditional finance, that type of growth is almost unheard of for major assets in such a short period of time. A lot of investors spend decades trying to get returns that large. Yet in crypto, moves like that have happened before. Bitcoin did it, Ethereum did it, even smaller projects exploded in value during previous bull cycles. So naturally, many XRP holders are wondering if history could repeat itself once again. But here's where things become more complicated. Even though a 20 times return sounds life-changing, the reality is that you would still need a significant amount of money invested today to become wealthy from that move alone. For example, if someone invested $50,000 into XRP at current prices, and XRP eventually reached $28, that investment could potentially grow into around $1 million. That sounds incredible, but most retail investors simply do not have that kind of capital available right now, especially during uncertain economic times. This is why market cap becomes one of the most important parts of the entire discussion. A lot of new investors focus only on price targets without understanding how cryptocurrency valuations actually work. XRP currently has around 61.8 billion coins circulating in the market. When you multiply that supply by the current price near $1.40, you get a market cap of roughly $85 billion. That already places XRP among the largest cryptocurrencies in the world. Now imagine XRP increasing 20 times from here. That would push the market cap to around $1.6 trillion, which would place XRP in the same territory as Bitcoin itself. And this is exactly where the debate gets heated. Can XRP realistically grow large enough to rival or even surpass Bitcoin? Some investors say absolutely yes because they believe XRP has real-world utility that could eventually transform global finance. Others say no because Bitcoin still dominates the market as the original cryptocurrency and continues attracting institutional money faster than any other digital asset on Earth. Even reaching $4 has proven extremely difficult for XRP. Last year, the token made 2 serious attempts to break above that level, but both rallies eventually failed. That detail matters because a $4 XRP would already place the project near Ethereum's current valuation levels. In other words, the market has repeatedly shown hesitation when XRP starts approaching Ethereum territory. And this creates a major psychological barrier for investors. The crypto market is highly competitive, and there are only so many trillions of dollars available to spread across digital assets. So for XRP to truly explode higher, it may not be enough for XRP itself to perform well. The entire crypto market may need to enter another massive bull cycle. That means Bitcoin would likely need to surge higher, Ethereum would need strong momentum, and institutional investors would need to pour fresh capital into crypto once again. Without that broader market excitement, XRP may continue struggling to achieve the massive price targets many holders are hoping for. One of the biggest realities investors need to understand is that Bitcoin still controls the emotional direction of the entire crypto market. Whether people like it or not, Bitcoin remains the king. When Bitcoin rallies, confidence spreads everywhere. Altcoins rise, retail investors return, social media becomes bullish again. But when Bitcoin struggles, fear quickly takes over the market. Right now, Bitcoin has been battling around the critical $100,000 level, and until it clearly breaks above that area with strong momentum, many analysts believe the broader market will remain limited. This is incredibly important for XRP investors because XRP rarely moves completely independently from the rest of crypto. Even if Ripple announces major partnerships or positive developments, market-wide sentiment still plays a huge role in price action. So if you're someone hoping XRP will deliver life-changing wealth, you should also be paying close attention to Bitcoin because its performance may ultimately determine whether XRP enters another historic rally or continues trading below expectations for years to come. Another factor that keeps XRP supporters optimistic is Ripple's long-term vision for global payments. Ripple has spent years positioning XRP as a bridge asset capable of making international money transfers faster and cheaper. Traditional banking systems are often slow, expensive, and outdated, especially when it comes to cross-border transactions. Ripple believes XRP can solve those problems by providing instant settlement between different currencies worldwide. That vision is what continues attracting investors despite the volatility. Many supporters argue that if banks and financial institutions eventually adopt Ripple's technology on a large scale, XRP demand could increase dramatically. And unlike meme coins or purely speculative assets, XRP actually has a use case tied directly to financial infrastructure. Of course, critics argue that adoption has moved slower than expected and that banks may not need XRP itself to use Ripple's technology. But even with those concerns, XRP remains one of the most recognized cryptocurrencies in the entire industry, and that brand recognition alone continues fueling investor interest during every market cycle. The emotional side of XRP investing is also impossible to ignore. XRP holders are among the most passionate communities in crypto. Many of them have held through brutal crashes, endless legal battles, and years of uncertainty. They truly believe XRP is undervalued and that the market has not yet recognized its full potential. That loyalty became even stronger during Ripple's long fight with the SEC, which turned XRP into more than just another cryptocurrency for many investors. It became a symbol of resistance against regulatory pressure. And when Ripple achieved key legal victories, confidence exploded once again. Supporters felt validated after years of criticism from outside analysts. This emotional conviction is one reason XRP consistently remains one of the most discussed cryptocurrencies online. Even during market downturns, the XRP community refuses to disappear. They continue sharing bullish predictions, partnership rumors, and long-term price theories that keep excitement alive, no matter what the charts look like in the short term. But despite all the optimism, investors still need to stay realistic. Crypto markets are extremely volatile, and massive gains are never guaranteed. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming previous bull runs will automatically repeat themselves exactly the same way. Markets evolve over time. Competition increases. Regulations change. Investor behavior shifts. What worked during one cycle may not work during another. XRP absolutely has upside potential, but there are still serious risks involved. Governments around the world continue discussing tighter regulations for digital assets. Institutional investors remain cautious about certain cryptocurrencies, and global economic uncertainty could reduce risk appetite across financial markets entirely. All of those factors could impact XRP's future performance. So while the dream of becoming wealthy through XRP sounds exciting, smart investors understand the importance of managing expectations expectations and avoiding emotional decisions driven purely by hype or fear of missing out. There's also the issue of supply. XRP's circulating supply is significantly larger than Bitcoin's, which means price growth behaves differently compared to assets with lower supply caps. Bitcoin's scarcity is one reason its price can rise so aggressively during bull markets. XRP, on the other hand, requires much larger amounts of capital inflow to achieve the same percentage gains because there are so many coins already in circulation. This doesn't mean XRP cannot rise substantially, but it does mean investors should understand the mathematics behind valuation growth. A move to $10 is possible under strong market conditions, but moves toward $1,000 or higher would require valuations that currently seem extremely difficult to justify based on existing global capital flows. That's why many experienced analysts focus on more moderate price targets instead of unrealistic moonshot predictions designed mainly to attract attention on social media platforms and YouTube thumbnails. Still, what makes XRP fascinating is that crypto markets have repeatedly surprised people before. Very few investors believed Bitcoin could ever reach six figures during its early years. Ethereum was once considered too complicated and risky to compete with Bitcoin, yet it eventually became the second largest cryptocurrency in the world. Entire fortunes have been created in this industry by people who invested early and remained patient through extreme volatility. So when XRP supporters talk about life-changing wealth, they are not imagining something completely impossible. They are looking at crypto history and remembering how quickly narratives can shift once momentum returns to the market. The challenge is figuring out whether XRP will truly be one of the biggest winners in the next cycle, or whether newer technologies and projects will attract most of the capital instead. That uncertainty is what makes investing both exciting and dangerous at the same time. Timing is another huge factor. Many investors assume they need XRP to reach unrealistic numbers in order to make money, but sometimes smart timing matters more than perfect price targets. Someone who buys XRP during periods of fear and sells during major hype cycles could still generate significant profits without needing the token to reach hundreds of dollars. Historically, crypto markets move in waves of extreme fear, followed by extreme greed. Right now, many traders are nervous because prices remain far below previous highs. But experienced investors know that periods of pessimism often create the best opportunities for long-term positioning. Of course, there are no guarantees, and prices could always fall further before recovering. But the psychological pattern of crypto markets has repeated many times before, and XRP holders are hoping this current phase eventually leads into another major expansion cycle as confidence returns to the industry. Another reason XRP continues attracting attention is the possibility of broader institutional involvement in crypto over the next decade. Large financial firms are slowly entering the digital asset space, and regulatory clarity is improving compared to previous years. If institutions eventually become more comfortable holding and using digital assets, projects with strong brand recognition and established infrastructure could benefit significantly. XRP already has global recognition, relationships within the financial industry, and years of market history behind it. That gives it an advantage compared to newer projects that still need to prove long-term credibility. Some investors believe that if crypto truly becomes integrated into mainstream finance, XRP could play an important role in that transition. Others remain skeptical and argue that Bitcoin will continue dominating institutional adoption, while most altcoins struggle to maintain relevance. Either way, institutional interest will likely play a major role in determining how large the next crypto cycle becomes overall. The media narrative surrounding XRP is also changing again. During bear markets, negative headlines dominate the conversation. People focus on lawsuits, price crashes, and failed predictions. But when momentum returns, the narrative flips almost overnight. Suddenly, analysts begin discussing bullish scenarios, mainstream coverage increases, and retail investors rush back into the market, searching for the next breakout opportunity. XRP has experienced this cycle multiple times already. The token often spends long periods moving sideways before suddenly exploding higher during moments of peak market excitement. That unpredictable nature is why so many traders continue watching XRP closely, even after years of volatility. They know the asset has a history of massive moves when sentiment shifts strongly in its favor. The question now is whether the next breakout, if it happens, will finally push XRP beyond previous highs and into completely new territory. One thing that separates successful investors from emotional traders is patience. Many people enter crypto expecting instant results, but real wealth creation usually takes time. Markets move in cycles, and patience often matters more than chasing short-term hype. XRP holders who believe in the long-term vision understand that adoption, regulation, and infrastructure development are gradual processes. They are willing to hold through volatility because they believe the payoff could eventually outweigh the risk. At the same time, patience should never replace critical thinking. Investors still need to monitor market conditions, analyze developments objectively, and avoid blindly believing every bullish prediction they see online. The crypto industry is filled with exaggerated promises, and separating realistic opportunities from unrealistic fantasies is one of the hardest parts of investing successfully. As we move deeper into the decade, the stakes for XRP are becoming larger than ever before. The project has survived legal battles, market crashes, regulatory pressure, and years of criticism. Yet it still remains one of the top digital assets in the world. That resilience alone says something important about the strength of its community and long-term relevance. If Ripple successfully expands its payment ecosystem and broader crypto adoption accelerates globally, XRP could absolutely experience another major growth phase. But whether that growth becomes truly life-changing for investors depends on several factors coming together at the same time. Bitcoin likely needs to continue rising. Institutional capital may need to increase. Global confidence in crypto must improve. And XRP itself needs to maintain momentum while competing against rapidly evolving blockchain technologies entering the market every year. So in the end, could buying XRP today actually set you up for life? The honest answer is that it's possible, but far from guaranteed. XRP still has enormous upside potential compared to its current price, especially if the crypto market enters another powerful bull cycle. Serious analysts believe meaningful gains are achievable over the next several years, and even moderate price increases could generate impressive returns for long-term investors. But at the same time, investors need to remain grounded in reality. Life-changing wealth usually requires either massive capital, exceptional timing, or extremely high risk tolerance. XRP may deliver huge opportunities, but it also carries uncertainty like every other cryptocurrency in the market today. What happens next will depend not only on Ripple and XRP itself, but on the future of the entire crypto industry. And right now, all eyes remain locked on Bitcoin, institutional adoption, and the next big wave of market momentum that could determine whether XRP's biggest chapter is still ahead.